You're lying in bed. The room is exactly the same as it was an hour ago in daylight. Same walls, same door, the same pile of clothes draped over the chair. Nothing in here has actually changed, except the light is off now, and suddenly your whole body is certain that something is in the room with you. Your heart rate is up. Your ears are straining at the silence. Some part of you is bracing hard. For what exactly? You are the single smartest animal that has ever lived on this planet. And here you are, quietly terrified of an empty room, because somebody flipped off a lamp. And before you tell yourself this is just a you thing, it isn't. Most adults still leave a hall light on, still check a strange room, still feel that prickle. We just don't talk about it. In one survey, more than half of college students put darkness among their top 5 fears. Grown adults, with locks and lamps and logic, still quietly listening for something in the black. Stay with me, because the reason you feel this is millions of years old, and it is still quietly running in every single one of us tonight. We're going to follow it back to when we were the ones being hunted, to the predators that waited in the dark, and to why children feel it most of all. And by the end, that little creak in the hallway is going to mean something completely different than it did 5 minutes ago. Picture a child at bedtime. The bath is done, the teeth are brushed, the story is read. And then from the dark bedroom, a small voice, leave the door open. Leave the light on. Check the closet. Look under the bed. Every parent on Earth, in every country, on every continent, knows this exact script by heart. And here is the genuinely strange part. Nobody sits a child down and teaches them to fear the dark. No one has to. It just arrives, almost on a schedule. Across wildly different cultures and kids who have never seen a scary movie or heard a ghost story, the very same fear appears. And it tends to peak between the ages of 3 and 6. When a fear shows up that reliably, in that many separate places with that little teaching, scientists start to suspect it isn't really learned at all. It's inherited. Evolution doesn't wait for every child to meet a predator and learn the lesson the hard way. The ones born already wary of the dark survive to have children. The fearless ones too often did not. It tends to emerge right when a child's imagination races ahead of their ability to tell what's real. The closet becomes a mouth. The coats on the hook become a crouching shape. We file all of this neatly under kids and their wild imaginations. But that explanation has always been just a little too easy and a little too quick. Because the fear doesn't feel invented. It feels remembered. So the real question is this. What exactly is a 3-year-old remembering? Let's be completely clear about one thing first. The dark cannot hurt you. Darkness is simply the absence of light. There is nothing in it that wasn't already sitting there in the daytime. Your thinking brain understands this perfectly. You can stand in a pitch-black room and tell yourself, calmly, out loud, there is nothing in here. And it will not matter even slightly. Because something far older than your thinking brain is also standing in that room, and it strongly, completely disagrees. Here's what the dark actually does to you. It quietly strips away your single most trusted sense, your vision, and your brain absolutely hates a blind spot. So your brain does what it always does with missing information. It fills the gap with a guess. And for a creature that was once hunted, the safest guess is always, something is there. And you can't simply switch that guess off. The thinking part of your brain is young. The alarm sitting underneath it is ancient, and the old one was built to win arguments exactly like this. This isn't a glitch in your wiring. It's a feature. A very, very old one. And to understand it, we have to go back to when fearing the dark was the smartest thing a human could be. We love to picture our ancestors as the hunters, spear in hand, chasing the herd across the open plain, standing proud at the very top of the food chain. For most of our long story, that picture is simply wrong. For millions of years, we were not the hunters at all. We were the hunted. We had no claws, no fangs, no fur, no real speed, no armor of any kind. We were soft, slow, and out in the open, exactly the sort of thing a big cat is built to notice. And we have the proof written right into old bones. In South Africa, a scientist named C.K. Brain spent years studying the fossil skull of an early human relative. In the top of that small skull were 2 clean, round puncture holes. And they matched exactly the spacing of the 2 lower fangs of an ancient leopard. That early human had not killed the leopard. The leopard had killed them, and very likely carried them up into a tree to eat in peace. And this is not some ancient threat that conveniently vanished. The very same leopards still hunt baboons, monkeys, and even chimpanzees in the dark today. It was never hypothetical. And it wasn't a chapter we quickly grew out of either. Just last year, researchers used AI to re-examine the bones of Homo habilis, one of the very first true humans. The result was the same old story. Leopard tooth marks, with over 90% certainty. Even the first of us, the very first humans, were still somebody's meal. Carry that forward, and something quietly clicks into place. We spent almost our entire history as a snack with anxiety, and only clawed our way to the top of the food chain in the very last eye blink of time. Now here is where the dark walks straight into the story. Because the animals that hunted us did not come at noon. They came at the soft edges of the day and deep into the night. Leopards, lions, hyenas, their eyes are built for low light. To them, the dark is not a problem at all. The dark is their single greatest advantage. And a leopard doesn't beat you in a fair race. It waits perfectly still and drops on you from behind or from above, from the exact direction your weak night eyes were never watching. And our eyes? Ours are built for the sun, bright daylight, sharp detail, rich full color. The very moment the light drains away, we go almost completely blind. Sit with what that actually means. The hour we could see the least was the exact same hour our hunters could see the most. So in the dark, we did the only thing we could. We stopped trusting our eyes and started living through our ears, and every rustle, every snap twig became a question that needed an answer. And this isn't guesswork. In parts of Tanzania, researchers found that lion attacks on people are roughly 60% more likely after 6 in the evening. They climb even higher in the days right after a full moon. As the bright nights fade back into black and we grow blinder, the danger quietly rises. So we did something no other prey animal had ever done. We reached into a wildfire, pulled out a burning branch, and built our own small circle of daylight in the dark. That fire was our very first weapon against the night. Inside the ring of light we could see, we could sleep, we could keep the glowing eyes at bay. Outside it, the old danger waited. That fire bought us far more than warmth and cooked food. It bought us a defended pocket of the night itself, and for the first time ever, a prey animal could close its eyes in the dark and actually sleep. So for a daylight animal like us, nightfall was never cozy or restful. Nightfall was, very simply, the most dangerous part of being alive. Okay, you might reasonably say, that is all the distant past. How do we actually know that ancient alarm is still inside modern people, right now, today? Because you can measure it directly. There's a reflex called the startle response, that involuntary jump when something surprises you. It's a clean little window straight into the fear system. A researcher named Christian Grillon brought ordinary people into a lab and measured their startle to sudden sounds, first with the lights on, and then in complete darkness. Same person, same sound. The only thing that changed in the whole room was the light, and in the dark, their startle reflex jumped significantly, measurably higher. Darkness, with nothing else added. No threat, no scary story, no warning. Measurably cranks up the body's fear system, all on its own. The dark itself primes you to be afraid. Think about how brutally efficient that is. The brain doesn't wait to actually see a threat in the dark. It treats the cost of being wrong about a predator as death itself, so it simply stays armed. And it isn't full-blown panic either. Another study found it's more of a low, steady hum of unease, exactly the slightly on-edge state you'd want if a predator might be somewhere nearby. But here is the detail that genuinely gives me chills. The people whose startle jumped the most in the dark were the very same people who had been most afraid of the dark as children. The fear you felt at 5 years old never actually went away. It just went quiet. But the lab can still hear it, humming away under the surface, all these decades later. We can even watch this happen inside the brain itself. Deep in there sits a little almond-shaped alarm called the amygdala, the part that screams danger before you've had time to think. And researchers found something beautifully simple. Light actually calms the amygdala down. More light, quieter alarm. It's almost like a dimmer switch for fear. Turn the light off, and that brake comes off too. The alarm gets a little louder, a little quicker to fire. In the dark, your brain is quietly leaning toward threat, which is exactly why a nightlight isn't babying a child. It's neuroscience. That small warm glow is literally turning down the volume on the brain's fear circuit. So the dark doesn't put a monster into the room. It just quietly takes the brakes off the part of you that is always, always watching for one. It's also why the dark feels emptier and louder at the very same time. With your eyes turned down, your hearing turns up, sweeping the silence for the one small sound that actually matters. Which carries us right back to that child calling down the hallway. Why do they feel this so much more sharply than the rest of us do? Think about who, in an ancient camp at night, was the very easiest to take. Not the strong adult sitting by the fire. The small one, the slow one, the one who couldn't run yet. A child's fear of the dark peaks at exactly the age they would once have been the most helpless in it. The fear is loudest precisely where, long ago, the danger was greatest. That is not a coincidence. That is an ancient survival system still faithfully doing its job, thousands of years after the last leopard left the edge of the camp. There's a second piece, too. At that age, a child can't yet fully separate what's real from what's imagined, so the inherited alarm and a brand new imagination meet, and the danger finally gets a face. And the monster under the bed? It was never really nonsense. It is the blurry, inherited outline of something that was once absolutely, completely real. A leopard-shaped ghost, handed quietly down across 1,000 generations, still keeping watch from under a bed, in a bedroom, in a city that has never once seen a leopard. Ask a small child what's in the dark, and they almost never say nothing. They say a shape, with eyes, that wants them. Nobody taught them that specific picture. They just somehow already know it. Once you really see this, you start noticing the ancient fear humming quietly underneath modern life almost everywhere you look. It's why every horror film reaches straight for the dark. The thing in the shadow is terrifying not because of what you can see, but because of everything you suddenly can't. It's why a single creak at 3 in the morning can fire you bolt upright, heart slamming in your chest, before even one clear thought has had time to form. It's why we lock the doors at night, sleep close to the people we love, and feel that small warm wave of relief the instant we finally step into the lit porch, and notice what we're really doing every single night. Walls, a locked door, a soft lamp, the others sleeping nearby. We are rebuilding the firelit circle, over and over, without ever realizing it. It's even why so many of us still can't fall asleep in a strange, silent house, yet drift off easily with someone breathing in the next room. Safety, to us, has always meant one thing: not alone in the dark. And it's why, for hundreds of thousands of years, we have waged one long, patient, quiet war against the night itself. Fire. Then candles. Then lamps. Then entire cities that never ever go fully dark. We have spent our whole history trying to push the blackness back a little further. We never actually outgrew our fear of the dark. We just slowly got powerful enough to flood the whole world with light, so that we would rarely ever have to feel it. And this is the part one keep coming back to. We tell ourselves that we have risen high above the animal world, that we're the thinkers, the builders, the ones in charge of everything. Then the power goes out, and you're standing in your own hallway, a place you have walked 1,000 times in the light, and your whole body floods with that old wordless dread. In that one moment, every layer of the modern world quietly falls away, and what's left standing there in the dark is just an animal, listening. It's the exact same alarm a deer feels at a snapped twig, the same freeze a mouse feels under a passing shadow. We just usually keep ours politely hidden behind a light switch. And here's the humbling part: knowing all of this won't save you from it. You can understand every word of it and still feel that jolt tonight, because it doesn't live in the part of you that understands. The dark is the one place where the ancient animal in us still gets to speak, and what it keeps quietly saying is very simple: don't relax yet, not until the sun comes back. So here is what changes, starting tonight. The next time the dark makes you uneasy, a black hallway, an unexplained creak, a room with the lights off, notice that your body got there a half second before your thoughts ever did. That jolt is not weakness, and it is not childish. It is a gift, handed to you by a long line of ancestors who were each just nervous enough, in the dark, to live until morning. Every single one of them survived the night, over and over, for thousands of generations. And the only proof you need is that you are here right now, in the dark, still listening. You are the latest link in an unbroken chain of survivors, stretching back past the first cities, past the first spoken words, all the way to the first nervous creature that decided the dark was worth respecting. Think back to that child at the very start, calling out down the hallway, "Leave the door open, leave the light on." They are not being difficult. They are not even really being a child. They're running a program written long before there were bedrooms or doors or lights to leave on. A program that says very quietly, in a language older than words, the dark is when we were taken. Stay near the others, stay near the fire, wait for the sun. So be gentle with the kid who wants the door left open, and be gentle with yourself on the nights you still want it too. You're both just listening. We are the animal that finally learned to carry its own light into the dark, but we have never once stopped being the animal that needed to. So the dark was never really the thing you were afraid of at all. You were always only afraid of what used to be standing in it. And somewhere under all the language and the logic, A small, ancient ancestor is still in there, lying very still, listening for a leopard that is never ever coming. Here's something small to try. Tonight, when you switch off the light, just notice that tiny flicker of alertness in the half-second before you settle. That flicker is not nothing. That is 10,000 generations, checking the dark one last time, exactly the way they always have. If this changed how you feel about that flicker in the dark, subscribe. We keep pulling apart the hidden instincts that still quietly run the show. I'm still out here watching, and the more I see, the more I understand that we never really left the wild. We just turned the lights on. I'll see you in the next one.